Hello everyone and welcome to A Celtic World. We are the podcast connecting Celtic fans all around the world. I'm your host for tonight, Stephen, and I'm joined by a glittering array of Celtic social media royalty with a combined total of something like over 30,000 Twitter followers, of which I'm happy to contribute about 50. So I'll just go around the tiles and you can give us a brief introduction, who you are, where you're from, and how your week's going. I'll go to you first, Ian.
Yeah, Bore da Croeso I Gymru. That's good morning. Welcome to Wales, Cardiff to be specific. My week's going good. Can't complain too much. International week's gone, and a victory at the weekend. So yeah, can't complain. Cheers.
And yourself, Dano?
Hi, my name's Dano, from Chicago originally in the Midwest. I'm here in Gwangju, Korea, and I do a nightly music radio show on GFN, the local English language radio station here.
All right, I was supposed to put a wee map up there to show where Ian's from. So there you go. If you didn't know where Cardiff is, there it is there.
That's for the Americans in the crowd, you know.
Yeah. And next, last but by no means least, the Kaiser. Tell us what dark and sinister place you're residing and what ray of light you're bringing to us tonight.
Yo, legends, I'm the Kaiser, here in Ibrox, in the shadow of Snake Mountain, as per usual. Like He-Man, standing up against the oppression and bigotdom. Living my best life, having a fantastic week. As Ian said himself, off the international break, I'm glad it's finally over. And on to a victory in the league. Enjoyed it. I went to the game, had a fantastic time.
All right, so welcome everybody joining us live. If you can, we'd appreciate it if you press the like button and also subscribe to the channel, as it really helps us grow the station. If you tell your pals as well, that would be great. The more the merrier, and please feel free to put some comments in the comments section. So let's jump right into what we're here to talk about. So on Saturday there, Celtic had a fairly comfortable 3-0 win over Dundee at Celtic Park with goals from Kyogo, David Turnbull from the penalty spot, and Matt O'Reilly. So fortunately for A Celtic World, we had our very own roving reporter on the ground at the game. So I'll just play a quick video of the Kaiser's view of the game.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll talk a bit about the game in a while, but guys, I'd like to tell us a little bit about your match day experience and how you found the atmosphere.
Yeah, the atmosphere was electric. You know what I mean? The fans, a lot of hype building into this game. We're looking for the result to lead into the Champions League game later this week. So it was pretty much an electric atmosphere. I believe we'll talk about the game, so I don't want to just roam right on to discussing my opinions on the game before we get there. But I was quite happy with the overall performance and the experience, as always, visiting paradise for the shadow of Snake Mountain to the theatre of dreams. It just doesn't get much better.
And who were you at the game with?
My mate always sorts us out. He picks us up, he drops us off. You know what I mean? So it's my big mate. Hainsey, his name is, James Hines. He's actually the goalkeeping coach for the Celtic ladies squad. So he gets us a bit of exclusive access there as well, gets us to speak to Fran Alonso, go to games, just random stuff. It's not always there on drip, but randomly he'll come in and he'll be like, "Want to come to a game?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Want to bring the kids?" "Yeah." It's a good way to introduce the kids to football. You know what I mean? It's a less aggressive environment, and the fan interaction for the ladies and Fran Alonso is just amazing. Come right along the touchline after the games, before the games, speak to all the fans. They're always there for a photo opportunity. Fantastic experience. Very down to earth.
All right, we'll keep that in mind if we're looking for an inside contact for the ladies team. I'll just jump straight into the comments, and regular viewer Frank Brennan says, if this truly is a glittering array of social media royalty, then what do the riffraff of social media look like? It's probably pretty much the same.
Yeah,
on Rangers channel, and then you'll see what the riffraff looks like.
That's it, yeah. Frank's also saying an excellent 3-0 win with, in particular, 2 excellent goals. So all now thoughts and plans for tomorrow night and those Dutch Huns we face. We'll talk about that in a bit later. But first I'll go to you, Ian. We'll talk a little bit about the team lineup. What was your thoughts when you saw the first team getting posted on Twitter?
So I think no surprise to see Phillips there. I think that was the first one that stood out because, with CCV, Welsh, Narovski out, if we only get 3, we got to get Phillips game time quickly. Worried that he rolled his ankle. So yeah, understood that one. Yang is shown in glimpses, that he's kind of got all the attributes. But I think, I'd have liked to have maybe seen Palmer from the start. But maybe if he'd not been over the other side of the world, maybe he would, maybe he'd come straight in. The thing that surprised me, probably most was seeing Dave Turnbull in there again. I think, I don't know if everyone agrees, but I think the midfield 3 is looking a bit flatter now than it was. So that position that we used to see Turnbull in, maybe an attacking midfielder, I just don't think exists anymore. And he doesn't seem to have the kind of pace or the wherewithal to kind of be in there. So I actually thought Home might start in there. I thought Hatate might come straight back in. I think Rodgers said, what do you say about Hatate? He's got a lot of dynamism about him. And I think that's exactly what Turnbull doesn't have for in there. So, I think that was a big shot for me. I think Turnbull starting was probably the one. The rest were kind of expected with the Champions League in mind.
Yeah, I think most of us would share that opinion that we were surprised to see Turnbull, particularly since he was probably the poorest of the midfielders on show against Rangers. So, Dano, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Turnbull was like a laser point. I mean, the moment I saw him, a lot of people were surprised with Scales. I wasn't. Obviously, I mean, man of the match in one of the toughest matches we've faced in a long, long time. And I only think that was fair. I think Rodgers, saw him. He was still playing well in training during the week and put him in. But yeah, Turnbull, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, really. There's really not a lot going on there. Yang, obviously, I was excited to see get a start because Abada, tripped in the shower or whatever happened out with the Israeli team. And yeah, I mean, he didn't, have a gangbuster performance, but I thought he did pretty well for such a high pressure first start for the club,
Yeah, and Kaiser, on the central defence, were you surprised to see Scales getting the nod in front of Lagerbielke?
Not really, because I think Liam Scales' performance at Ibrox, he sort of laid a marker down for that position. He's staked his claim. He's thrown his hat in the ring. Phillips coming on and performed quite well. Of course, playing against a in-camp team, they didn't come out. So he wasn't really under threat. Yeah. But he was strong enough, good enough at passing, good enough in his distribution. I would like to see how he fares under pressure when put under pressure. I do think from watching the game, it may be a bit early to see him really put under the cosh. But firmly thinking he's settling in well. Enjoyed the run out. Enjoyed the home fans. And I was quite happy with the defence and how they played. Nothing really jumped out at me as being a glaring weakness, although they were not, as I says, challenged. Enjoyed Jang's performance. I think he really has the flair and ability and the assets to go and challenge. Sometimes I think he's trying a little bit too hard. He maybe beat a man once and he turns back and beats him again. And I'm like, right, you don't need to beat that guy twice. That's bordering on fucking assault. You know what I mean? That's bordering on assault. Yang, just get past the man, supply the ball. But yeah, he does have that tendency to turn back and beat the man again. But that's a sign of the glaring quality that he does have.
Yeah, I thought Yang was all right as well. I think I've seen a lot of people maybe judge Phillips pretty harshly for 45 minutes after not having played an awful lot of football. He did have a couple of Duffy moon balls out the park, like, you know. But it's to be expected. I think folk need to manage their expectations of that. Same with Yang. Lost Jota, Yang should be the one that's getting drip fed in, and at the moment we can't afford to do that. So I think, you know, I'd seen a couple of people writing these guys off early doors, and it's just, I think folk need to calm down. Like you say, he was decent enough, but you got to remember he's a young guy.
Yang also had a move, and you were talking about the double moves. He had one move where he completely bamboozled the defender and obviously got tripped, and it didn't get called. I thought he was kind of hard done. That was right at the start of the game. I felt like that kind of set the tone for him. Like, he was like, I had him, and then he's kind of trying too hard. I think you're totally right about that, Kaiser, for the rest of the game. But yeah, good performance, man. But yeah, the passing from Phillips was, leaving something to be desired. But like you say, totally understandable, man. I mean, first big time.
Yeah, I'll put a comment up there from Pete McGee. Scales being left-footed is a big plus. Do you think, Kaiser, that's got a lot to do with how we got the nod in front of Big Lager?
I think definitely it's the fact that he can play with his left foot. The fact that Brendan Rodgers has also cited him and said that he's there for cover as well for the left-back position. So I think that really spoke volumes. He's trying to get Scales as much game time as he can. And when I was actually watching, the more Taylor pushes into midfield and tries to invert, as he was trying to do, the more Scales comes across to the left-hand side and really covers that left-back position, which I think is fantastic. I think we look fantastic with a back three. And I understand that's when we're in possession and going forward and we revert back to the back four when we're being defensive-minded. But in games such as this, really critical to score early. I thought Scales' ball through to Maeda was absolutely fantastic. I did not think, sitting in the stadium, but you seen where I was sitting from, and we were shooting to the opposite end. I didn't think Maeda was offside myself, but I'm not directly in line with the play, so I can't really call that. But for where I was sitting, it looked like fantastic ball and a fantastic finish from Maeda as well.
I tell you, he's not directly in line with the play either, and that's the VAR cameras. I don't know why they're not putting them properly, because you're saying you're not in play, guys. You probably have the same view as the guys in the VAR bus.
Like, nobody saw that properly on TV or anything.
You see those rail cameras, right, at the horse racing, and it's like a dome and it's on a rail that runs along the side of the pitch. You just have one of them at either side of the pitch that track the play, that track the defensive line, and on the opposite side of the linesman. So you've got a linesman on the left-hand side up to the halfway line, and then he's on the opposite side up to the halfway line. You just oppose them with the cameras, and you go, right, they're there to support you, they're there to help you make these decisions. Of course, we did go for the lucky bag VAR, the bare minimum and expense. No expense spared, except all the expense. I would like to say, welcome to everybody in the chat. Big Pete McGee, Pork Chop Express, legends, I know them all. Red Scotland, Big Frank Brennan. Yeah, this is a riff-raff, brother. Thank you for mentioning. Just all you, thanks for being here. And as the lad says, podcast goes nowhere unless you share it out. So smash it onto your social media, refer a friend to be a friend, get them in here. Then that way we're not just talking to ourselves. We would talk to ourselves anyway. We do for a while before and after the show.
yeah. That was a few shows in a row, man. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
But
I
mean, go ahead.
I think we can all be in agreement that the first half performance wasn't particularly good, and I think there was a little bit of a sense of deja vu after the poor showing against St Johnstone, where we weren't creating chances at all. So what do you think was behind the lack of sort of penetration in the first half, Ian?
Well, I think, it's something that Kaiser touched on. I think, if we don't get that early goal, it kind of always looks like it's heading for a draw. This is, if you remember back to Rodgers' first time, this is kind of how it is. If Maeda's goal or a Riley goal effort goes in, then we're having something that's completely different. I think what we have to remember is it will get more polished as we go along. Like, the centre of defence is still constantly changing, and that's a key area that Rodgers always had playing out, especially, and the wingers as well. So I expect it to get a lot more polished, but I think there's a legacy from Ange Ball that people have that as kind of like a standard, and we kind of need to, as much as we would like that to be replicated all the time, that's not going to be it. There is going to be a change, so it is going to get more polished. I think one thing to point out about the first half performance, and I want to call it, is Joe Hart, because Joe Hart's maybe pulled us out a hole for about 4 or 5 times this season. I think it's a symptom of the central defence not being settled and things like that. And I think we're maybe giving away 1 or 2 more chances than we look to be at this stage. But for, after he made that mistake early doors pre-season Japan, I think he dropped the ball and then someone put it in the net. And there was a lot of criticism of him, rightly so, given how he was. And there was a lot of apprehension given the way we thought he was going to play. But credit to him, after Maeda's goal got disallowed, he came up with a massive save. And if that goes in, equally, that's a very different game, the same way if Maeda's goes in. So, yeah, I just wanted to call that out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Hart's pulled us out, since he's had a lot of criticism, especially during the transfer window when everyone was screaming for us to sign a goalkeeper. You've got to give him credit. He's sort of lifted his game, he's lifted his performance levels, and he's been, pretty much faultless. I mean, who knows what's to come for the rest of the season? But Dano, I don't think you can take anything away from the way Hart's played up to now.
No, not in the regular season. I mean, he had a couple weird bomb scare moments up at Aberdeen, but that's about it. He's been pretty solid since. Yeah, I can't complain. And as far as the first half goes, it's kind of like the tale of 2 halves within the half. It was like the first 40 minutes, we were attacking pretty well. I thought we were controlling the game really well, and it just felt like a goal was going to come. And the last 15, 20 minutes were just flat. Like, we looked awful. It was just like, I don't know, we were in jail or something creatively. There was nothing going on. But also to the point of Liam Scales' passing, man, was fantastic on Saturday. It was unbelievable. So yeah, it was just, I don't know, they seemed like they ran out of gas or imagination or something towards the end of the first half. And yeah, the crowd seemed like pretty disappointed by the end of the half, obviously. But it's kind of hard to get that duck out of the water. The duck gets bigger and bigger every minute that goes by. I mean, it's like 150 minutes or something we haven't scored at our own home ground. And there's a lot of tension there, man. It's hard to get the duck out of the water.
Yeah. I think the first half, right, was when they pushed more into the game as they were resolute, as Ian said himself, it starts to feel like this is going to be a draw. And you feel that right for the start. You feel that atmosphere, that narrative. That's the opposing team. That's the narrative they want, to keep the crowd quiet and have a resolute performance, be solid. The more they grew into the game and pushed out, that's when we really cut them apart with the Liam Scales pass, the Maeda finish, which I think, as I said, should have been a goal. But I didn't have courtesy of seeing the lines. I didn't have courtesy of being exactly there. So it's not something that's subjective in it. I think when that happened, they then retreated again and camped back on the edge of their 18-yard box. And that's when really, like Daniel says, we looked like a goal was coming, we were flowing, and then the ball started getting laboured and scored, passed across the midfield. Like, I recognise David Turnbull's qualities when he's attacking the opposition box, and when you've got an encamped team and he's shooting from outside the box and scoring goals, then that's really fantastic to break that deadlock. But when he's not doing that, there's not enough to his game in other areas to really justify him being there. And I'm like, yeah, I can see why he's an asset. I can see why he's a danger, and the man slotted in the penalty like a pro. So I'm not going to really be too harsh on him, because I think everybody, David Turnbull, we've all been looking at him. I don't really like that aspect of Celtic fans when we pick a whipping boy and we all go at him. You know what I mean? I think he does have glaring qualities. He does have things about his game where he's really fantastic, but the weaker side of his game is just, it doesn't stack up enough. He doesn't do enough to really justify a start, and I would have wanted Home to be in there from the start, because I think he's more of an option in European football than David Turnbull is.
He needs to do it in a home game against Dundee to give us the confidence to say, yeah, let him loose in Feyenoord. Because at the moment, and we'll come on to it, is the difference Hatate makes. Turnbull, like you're saying, we all know his qualities. It's his consistency. And if you're not putting the consistent performances in against someone like Dundee at home, that's where the questions arise. And I think people are a bit harsher when they know you've got the talent. if you don't have the talent, we're just like, well, it's not there. But when you've seen him do some of the stuff he can do, you're like, well, why isn't he being consistent, and why is he not doing it in a game like Dundee?
Yeah, and opposed to like O'Reilly, McGregor, the positioning with Turnbull, he just always, like when we don't have the ball, or even when we do have the ball, he just doesn't seem to be in the right place a lot of the times. You don't have to be super lightning quick to be playing in his position. You know, there are plenty of people who are like slower or whatever who can play that position really well, but he just doesn't seem to be kind of ahead of the game like he needs to be a starting midfielder with Celtic. You know,
you need to be quick in here. You need to be quick of mind. You need to be able to read the play, and that's what I feel Turnbull lacks, as well as lacking pace to recover from his ineptitude and speed of thought and reading the game. He sort of meanders and potters about, and sometimes that results in him arriving late at the edge of the area and lashing in a fantastic goal, exploiting the assets that he has got. But I do feel he does meander about. He isn't fast enough thinking. He doesn't know what he's doing. And it's the old, same with Haksabanovic. When I used to see Haksabanovic on the wing, I would be like, why not play him as a 10? I find myself looking at David Turnbull and saying, why not play him as a 10? Why not exploit the assets he's got as striking the ball from a bit deeper and play him a bit higher up, move him out of that section of midfield? But then would that just be shifting the problem to elsewhere in the park? Because he does meander about a lot. You know what I mean? I think sometimes he's looking for 4-leaf clovers. I'm like, come on, David, man, what are you looking for here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the second half in a minute. Firstly, being in the stadium, Kaiser, what was the mood like when Kyogo went off holding his shoulder?
Yeah. You sense that anxiety for the crowd. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, we all know now, right? All of a sudden, everyone's a body language expert. Everyone scrutinises every slight movement. You know what I mean? You scratch your left testicle and half the crowd's like, he favours his left testicle. He doesn't like the right one. You know what I mean? They all know. Everyone's got an opinion. And that's what it's like in the stands as well. You certainly heard that gasp, anxiety, and people going, what happens if Kyogo's injured? What happens if his shoulder problem's a recurring problem and it continues to bother him? And really, it is. I don't want to keep on going over and over that we should have brought in another striker. I know O is back and coming back, just not fast enough. Some of his play when O, before he picked up that knock, was fantastic. So, like, I'm really confident that O's going to come and perform in the future. But he is a very young guy as well and unproven at European level. I would have loved us to sign a striker with European pedigree who was out there doing it in the Champions League, scoring goals and sinking teams. Someone who strikes fear into hearts of other defences. I know Kyogo will strike that fear because of his movement, but then you look at the physicality of these European sides and European defences, and you think, if you're fragile, if you've got a fragile shoulder, they're going to lean on it. You know what I mean? It's the first thing I do at football. When I go to five-a-sides and I see a guy with a knee brace on, the first thing I do is stick a knee in that knee. You know what I mean?
Respect for fellow pros.
Yeah. Always. See, when I go, right, I've got a sore left knee. So when I go, I put the brace on my right knee, and I'm like, someone's going to be like me, and they're going to kick that. They're kicking the good leg. You know what I mean?
You dirty bird, Kaiser. You dirty bird.
Yeah, we all do it. I said it before, like the five-a-side league I play here in Glasgow, right? We got like a half-inch of snow, and it's an all-weather pitch, and they called the game off. And I was like, that's deplorable. I don't care if you're playing in your front garden or your backyard. Every guy, when he picks up his football boots and goes to play, it's for that competitive nature that it's a Champions League. You know what I mean? You're in it to win it. And I'm not opposed to like playing a bit dirty. Those are within the rules of the game. Professional fouls, pulling a bit of armpit here, the old thumb in the bum. You know what I mean?
I think that's a different type of game.
Yeah, well, that's the games I play, and that's the games I play.
Yeah.
The old.
By the way, going back to Kyogo, I would say that I think the shoulder injury is more of a concern for us than it is for him, because he still got the goal. But I think when he came back on, did he not just go right in and try and set about someone like straight away? And you were like, you've just gone off about your shoulder, just like leave the physical stuff. So I mean, touch wood, it doesn't seem to bother him. I'm wondering if we're waiting until, hopefully he doesn't, but if he does pick up an injury where it looks like he might be out for 5-6 weeks, they might double it up and send him for the shoulder surgery then, or in the off season, like we did with CCV, because I don't think it's affecting him to the level that it's stopping his performance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got asked
Yes,
about it
warrior.
today, and he basically said, there's nothing to see here, there's nothing wrong, no problems at all. I think that's maybe not quite true. Sort of the suggestion was that he popped up the tunnel to get his shoulder popped back in again. Now, I'm not a doctor or a physio or anything, but that's not nothing. And that's got to have, if you keep doing that, that's got to have some long-term effects on your ability to play. And as Kaiser said, if we lose him for a number of, even 2 or 3 months of the season, we could be in all sorts of trouble. What do you reckon, Dano?
Yeah, absolutely. And as somebody who has had to have my shoulder popped back in, that guy is a fucking warrior, because it hurts like 2 bitches on a bitch boat, man. It is unbelievable. And he's right back out there just hammering away. I mean, the guy's a warrior, but yeah, as far as losing him for an extended period of time, probably the best striker we've had since Larson. Yeah, that's obviously going to hurt, man. Like, it's going to hurt a lot, maybe more than getting your shoulder popped back in. But yeah, God forbid. I mean, I know my heart was in my throat when I saw him go off. I was like, oh man, here we go, because he looked like he separated his shoulder. Like, that's exactly what it looks like.
It looked as if he was holding his shoulder walking off. So
yeah, you can't move it. You're just holding it there. I mean, I've watched enough American football in my life to know what that looks like. Everybody who gets a separated shoulder just like holds it there because they can't move it. It's, it's out of joint.
Yeah. My experience of a shoulder being out of joint, I think, arrives and finishes at the Lethal Weapon movies, where Mel Gibson used to pop his shoulder out and just smash it against a wall. Maybe that's what Kyogo's doing. He's going along the tunnel and just wrapping that. I wouldn't put it past him, because he comes straight back out and goes right back at it. And we do have the benefits of modern medicine. Maybe he's getting a bit of pain relief injections, something like that, taking the pain away from that shoulder. But it does look like a recurring injury, a weakness that's there. And as we've all touched on, as we've all said, losing Kyogo would be a hammer blow, not only domestically, but to European dreams and aspects. It would be an absolute hammer blow. And there is no cover. There is nothing there, apart from O, who is coming back. And we did touch on that and say, like, I feel like he is just a couple of weeks off the pace. He doesn't get enough game time. He's not on often enough to really be that threat. Although he did come on late for Kyogo in the game and played quite well, you know what I mean? But he is, once again, a victim of his own success, a victim of his own reputation. He comes out and he tries as hard as he can, and you're like, right, maybe not try so hard, maybe let the game flow. What's for you won't go past you. Just relax, it's coming. You know what I mean? The fans are on your side. We've got patience for you.
He's Korean. Good luck getting a Korean to try less hard, man. I mean, those guys work their socks off, whether they're taxi drivers or football players or anything, man. Everybody's going 110 miles an hour here, man. So, but I mean, you got to love the effort, but you're right. I mean, kind of a victim of his own, try-hardness, whatever.
Yeah, I think you saw that towards the end of the second half, when he was like, he snatched at 1 or 2 opportunities where maybe he should have given it or taken it out. And I think he's wanting to get that goal to get back on track and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think the type of player he is, he's more than just about the goals, because he is a hold-up guy for us. He does have that strength. So maybe to find his way back into form, hopefully he's going to focus on those sort of things, because they'll probably come quicker than the finishing or other stuff. But let's see.
That's also a shame. That's also another aspect of it being a little bit of a shame that we're out of the League Cup, because those are the type of games, especially in the early rounds, where could get a start, or a lot of these younger guys could get a start. So, that kind of adds another aspect to the problem of getting minutes.
I think that comes with a bit of experience and a bit of age as well, because O is very young. And like we've seen, like when Moussa Dembele and that, when they have that quality, they know they're a finisher, they know they can finish, they don't snatch at chances, they take the touch, they create the space, and they lash that home. I think just kind of as a victim of trying to get on the score sheet. He's like, if I get one, if I get one, if I get one, you know what I mean? If he just relaxes, and as you say yourself, Ian, picks up the other aspects of his game that the fans were excited about, his interchanges, hold-up play, his passing, that abilities that we didn't really know that he had, and he displayed, I was like really impressed with. I was like, if he continues to grow in that way, that'll come a lot faster than a goal will with him snatching at chances, because we've all done that, try to snatch at a chance, and you end up kicking the ground or, you know what I mean, screwing it into the corner flag with the side of the boot when it's an easy, it seems like a simple finish.
I mean, it'll come, man. It'll come. I mean, even Kyogo was snatching at a chance on Saturday, you know, so it'll come. It'll come. He is very young.
Mm-hmm. All right, so moving into the second half, I think it's fair to say that the game changed dramatically with the penalty. Just quickly, Ian, first from yourself, are you okay with the decision?
For the penalty?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, 100%. What I actually said was, I think like this is where VAR is actually really going to benefit us, because there's nowhere to hide from these sort of decisions. I mean, I saw some other decisions in the league that I was surprised that VAR didn't give the decisions, because there was kind of equal ones that penalties weren't given. I don't know, maybe like somewhere like Perth. But for us, yeah, used to be that would just be a free kick outside, and then it'd be like, oh, it was too close, like couldn't see it sort of thing. Now VAR just eliminates that. So I think we'll probably see a good few of those over the season, hopefully, like debatable ones. Well, previously debatable ones. But if you're looking at it in terms of, yeah, was it a penalty? I mean, it was Stonewaller. I mean, don't think anyone can complain.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, 100% agree. Definitely a penalty. The reason I bring it up is because we've got a bit of an ongoing debate with Gav, who actually thinks that's evidence that VAR is not biased against us. And my point is, you know, that's the evidence of VAR getting it right, and that's how it's supposed to work. So I think if
leaving no hiding places, that's what it is.
Exactly. If we start to go like almost 2 calendar years without having a domestic penalty awarded against us, then you can maybe start to say VAR is working for us. But that's just an example of it being absolutely right. One thing I wanted to touch on, and I'll go to you, Dano. There's been a lot. We've already discussed David Turnbull in quite great detail, and most people are of the opinion that the team played much better after Hatate came on. But it was interesting for me to note there was only a couple of minutes after the goal was scored. So my question is, do you think it was the fact we were a goal up that changed the game, or was it just Hatate coming in for Turnbull?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, obviously the goal gets the big duck out of the water. That's a huge weight off the shoulders of everybody out there in the hoop jerseys. And yeah, I think Hatate just makes everything so fluid and easy. And he's very good once we're on the attack and everybody's bunched up and playing these low blocks on the opposition sides. He just knows where to exploit space, even in tight kind of situations like that. And it just looks so effortless. It's just brilliant. So I think it was a combination of both. But also, I think that fitness that we had with Ange at the end of games last year is still with us. I think the players are still really looking to gun it after 65, 70 minutes, you know, maybe bring on a sub or two, but they've still got gas in the tank, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, and Kaiser, neither of the 2 goals we scored after Hatate came on had him involved in the build-up play in any way. One was a great chip through from Callum McGregor onto Kyogo's head. The second one was a magnificent pass from Alistair Johnson into Kyogo, who pulled it back for O'Reilly to score. So what do you think Hatate's impact on the game was, or do you think it was just because we got the monkey off our back and got a goal up?
Well, as we said earlier, when these teams are encamped and entrenched on their 18-yard line, really Turnbull stepping up and scoring that penalty made all the difference, and the change came right after it. So as they were trying to step out, Hatate came on, and he's more forward thinking. free moving and passing the ball. So he looked like he had a really good performance. How he would have fared against the team had we not scored that goal when he had just been entrenched, well, that might have been a different story. We might have relied on him more, given that he is very dynamic going forward. But I do think it was some are column A and some are column B. The fact that we got the goal and got that monkey off our back, and then the fact that they had to come out and try and chase the game a bit. If they wanted to get back in, they were looking to go back to one each and put pressure on right after the goal. So the fact that they had to come out and Hatate came on, really, it was a bit contributed towards each other. Fantastic man management by Brendan Rodgers, making the substitute at that time and making that change and bringing Hatate onto a performance. I really thought that was excellent, showing his tactical awareness and how the game is changing and how he can change in game and really tactically astute. Also, the chip through to Hatate's movement, the chip through to Kyogo, his movement was utterly outstanding. And Kalmak, he's excellent for doing that, just that little chip ball through. But the way Kyogo sprung the offside trap, nipped in there, totally unmarked, boom, header, it was beautiful. And like that's the end that I was sitting at, so I got to see it right in front of me. It's absolutely beautiful. And also the interchange of play between Alistair Johnston, Kyogo, and the cutback for Matt O'Reilly, really that brings a warm feeling to the old cockles. I was like, yes, we've got it. We've got goals coming from other areas. It isn't just all on Kyogo's back. We do have goals all over the pitch. We have O'Reilly coming in. Previously, we did have Abada coming in and ghosting in with goals. You know what I mean? But Abada is injured. As Dano says, I believe he sprained his solar plexus in the shower. I don't think it was exactly that, Dano, but we'll go with that one. You know what I mean? Maybe rubbed his chest a bit hard with a soap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, used too much vapor rub. I can't remember the details. Yeah,
maybe he favoured his right testicle too much.
Yes, maybe. Something to do with a quad. I don't know what he was doing on a quad, but something to do with a quad.
Pulling it back briefly to Hatate, I think the thing that you notice when he came on and the contribution he makes is he's very good at giving and going in the ones and the twos. Like there was a bit when Palmer came on and he finds that pass a lot quicker, a lot more direct, and then he actually runs beyond players to create that space for other people to step into. So I think Hatate came on, kind of brings a little bit of that chaos that maybe the Dundee players have been camped in and everything's been played in front of them, but Hatate's willing to go right beyond them, and then that was pulling them about, and they were getting deeper and deeper and weren't sure what to do. So I think it's an element of, I agree with the guys, it's kind of this, it's a little bit the goal, it's a little bit Hatate, but that's what Hatate brings, and that was the kind of the noticeable difference when he came on and he tries those passes. And I think that's the thing with Rodgers. I think Rodgers would prefer someone who was like Hatate, that retained the ball a lot more and was a lot more kind of careful with his forward passing. But the reality is that we've got Hatate, he's a real asset, and Rodgers has to find a way to be comfortable having him that in that three, because the dynamic completely shifts when he's put in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, that kind of gets back to the earlier point about Turnbull. Footwork, positioning, like Hatate, when he has the ball come to him, he knows exactly what he wants to do with it. He's seeing a pass ahead. He's in the right position so that he doesn't have to like backtrack or something when a defender gets on him. He just puts it right in front of the defender.
Quick on the turn as well. He's quick on the turn. He receives it and turns very quickly.
Yeah.
Like O'Reilly. O'Reilly looks a bit slower because he's bigger, and Hatate's got the lower centre of gravity. Both of them are quick to kind of turn to look to the other place to move it on, whereas Turnbull's kind of almost takes a touch back inside and touch round. So
right, yeah, it's all about the footwork, man. I mean, Hatate's footwork is amazing.
I think Brendan likes that as well. See, like thinking from Brendan's point of view, looking at Hatate, he would prefer a player to retain possession rather than risk losing possession for that forward pass. Maybe that's something that's ingrained in Brendan and Brendan's style of football, and that's why he does keep going to Turnbull. He keeps going to that well, because Turnbull will retain the ball, he will hold on to it, he will make a pass across the midfield. But that's okay. Like we said before we went into the Ibrox game, before we went into there, said it on this show, we highlighted it, spoke about it, how we're going to play against teams at a domestic level and how teams are going to play against us, and how when a team comes out to play against us, how that is very different, how that is going to, Brendan's football and the way we play football is going to be very different, how we retain the ball, game management, which I think we did excellent at Ibrox, and we're fantastic at that. However, when you're playing against that ultra defensive team, breaking those lines of defence is really more important than retaining the possession, because every game we've got like 70-80% possession per half. So you can sacrifice a bit of that for the dynamic forward pass. You can afford to lose a couple of balls. I mean, it's not Roberto Carlos you're up against or Paolo Maldini. It's Scottish defenders playing in Scotland. So we do have the highest quality, the best quality players in the league. We should really be cutting that apart. And as much as you could turn around and say, as much as Barcelona, when we played Barcelona at Parkhead, should have cut Celtic apart, they didn't. We did that performance, we encamped, and then we hit them on the break. So it can show how effective that can be, even against the highest quality teams. When you get, when you feel like it's not going to be your day, like it's like waves breaking against the shore. You know what I mean? The waves hit the rocks over and over again, and then you realise there's sand on the beach. There's sand on the beach because those rocks are being destroyed over time. You just need to keep going, persevere. The players need to have that about them, that they need to keep hitting, need to keep going. If we lose the ball, that's okay. We'll recover it again in 2 minutes. The crowd needs to realise that as well. I believe lots of people have got a keen footballing insight. They've got intelligence, you know what I mean? A person is smart. People altogether are pretty dumb. But when you're individually looking at the game and individually looking at the performance, we can all see exactly what's happening. We can see what's going on. We all have an idea of how we think Celtic should be playing. And we all seem to be kind of sitting for the same hymn sheet. Like, just break these teams down. If we get the early goal, it changes the dynamic of the game. It forces them to come out and play. You know, and that really is what we should look to do, is catch these teams cold from the onset. Ange was brilliant at it. Well, Ange's team, he would go full blast, full hilt right for the start. And sometimes we've seen like the players would look like they were gassed out come 60, 70 minutes. I believe that was indicative of how fast flowing and how fast we were playing. Now, you can't go for having players, and they're the same players, largely the same squad, having that level of fitness and intensity to all of a sudden meandering about the pitch, like it says David Turnbull meanders about. And I seen someone also say in the chat there that they weren't too sure about Phillips in regards to his match sharpness and his match fitness. Now, I get that. The guy has been on the bench down south. He's come up here. He's looking to do a job for us. Now, just think, if you will, consider for a second, what if we had done like most of the Celtic fans were calling for, right? What if we had dropped him in at Ibrox and his match sharpness came into question right there? That again, once again, excellent player management from Brendan Rodgers. He's seen on the training ground. He's got sharp eyes as well. He knows exactly what these players, what level they're at, how fit they are, what their level of match sharpness is. So to have him come in that game, play the first half there, it's only going to be his credit. As we said, I would have liked it a bit more if he was under the cosh a bit more and a bit under more pressure. But then is that me just setting the man up for failure? You know what I mean? Am I looking to set him up to fail or set him up to succeed? Well, Brendan looks like he's going to drip him in, take his time and set him up to succeed, which I think only bodes well for us.
Yeah, and I don't think Brendan quite knows how conservative or attacking to be when we have the ball with passing. You know, like there was a lot, you know, McGregor's ball to Kyogo for the second goal, Scales and his ball to Maeda that was called offside. I mean, I think he's still kind of trying to strike a balance between, you know, really going forward and keeping the ball like he does but he's you know, he obviously loves to attack and score goals. So everybody's trying to sing from the same hymn sheet. I'm not sure if he quite knows exactly which hymns we're singing just quite yet, down to the final details type of thing.
See, Daniel, I think it's more along the lines of Brendan's actually treating the league for what the Scottish League offers domestically, right? It's not going to prepare us for Europe. We're not going to go out and attack the way in Europe the way we attack domestically if we were just to go out and play all out attacking football and just savage these teams, right? So I think Brendan's trying to like walk the line, walk along the razor's edge. It's a double-edged sword. He's trying to develop that style of play where we are under pressure and under the cosh against teams that are not really putting us under pressure or under the cosh. So he's still trying to develop that football, those muscle memory, the route of play. When you are under pressure, you know where the pass is, you know where to find it, because we've done a lot of it. Well, but it does look like we're meandering about and just aimlessly passing across the midfield. Well, when we're under pressure in Europe, we wouldn't call it that. We would call that game management, and we would say we retained possession and played fantastic. It's interesting how the paradigm shifts under two different lenses. So I think Brendan is, as much as you could say he could go all out attack, I think really he is prepping us for Europe. He does have one eye on Europe, and exactly what dividends that will pay remains to be seen. But I'm optimistic, given the fact that I actually said before leading into Ibrox that I was optimistic and I would see how we would fare in a European setting against a team that came out and maybe put us under a bit more pressure, played a bit better against us. And Sevco certainly do. They come out and play. They don't sit back, especially in their own hostile environment. Entire stadium full of nothing but their fans. And our players stood up to that. So I don't think there's any atmosphere, anything in Europe that's going to... I don't care if you're going to Turkey and they're throwing flaming toilet rolls at you and flares. They're not bothered. You know what I mean? It's not a house brick. Like my man, I seen Bitten there online, looked like he diving head of a concrete block. He's like big stitches down the front of his head. I don't know what happened there. I just seen a couple of posts about it. I've seen someone mention it in chat as well. I don't think they've got anything to fear for any European venue. I don't think any fans are going to put their players under pressure or going to turn up and perform. I think they've got more to fear if they come into paradise in the European nights here and the atmosphere here. They've got more to fear from us than we ever have from any of them.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll talk about the European game in a minute. Just before we go briefly, Ian, we had another two guys who made their debuts off the bench. We had Lewis Palmer and we had Paulo Bernardo. Anything stand out from those two?
I think there's a clear difference between Palmer and Bernardo and Phillips, because Phillips looked like a guy who hadn't played a lot of football, as we've kind of touched on, whereas you can see that Palmer and Bernardo are kind of almost a lot more up to speed. What I was surprised about both of them, actually, that I didn't know, both of them look quite physically quite big. Like, Palmer I thought was going to be like a kind of a smaller, trickier winger, but he looks like an absolute unit. So I'm wondering if that's another shift that Rodgers is bringing in, right? He's maybe moving away from a smaller technical player to more of athletes, because he did like them first time round, and I think he's maybe that's why he selected these guys to come in. But not to jump ahead, I think Palmer looked pretty tidy in the ball, looked like full of confidence. So I wouldn't be, I'd probably say his like little cameo gave me a lot of confidence if he was to be starting in the game coming up on Tuesday.
Yeah. All right, well, we just stick with you then, Ian, and we'll move on to the game on Tuesday night against Feyenoord. So I'll grab you a prediction for what kind of team you think Brendan will name. We'll concentrate specifically on the ones where there's decisions to be made, like centre-back, Turnbull or another, and who plays in the wing position. So what do you think we're going to name?
I think we'll see Phillips and Scales at centre back. I think unless that ankle roll is more than serious, I think that's what the game time was about. And I think he maybe wants to take Lagerbielke just a little bit out after the game at Ibrox. Kaiser's talked about his man management. I think there's an aspect of that maybe going on there, because I think Lagerbielke, when he came on, was really good. And I wouldn't really have that much of an issue with him starting, but I just think it might be Phillips and Scales. I think Hatate definitely in. I think if we all saw Turnbull in that sheet, I think we're all going to be panic stations. And I think as much as I like Yang, self-proclaimed member of the Yang gang, I think...
Yang gang, love it.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you for reclaiming that hashtag from that inept Democratic Party candidate of the same name in the U.S. Man, well done.
So I think maybe it might be. I think Palmer I'd be comfortable with him coming in, because I think he's up to speed. He looks confident, and I think Yang is good, but he's still young and he's raw, and I think he's been forced in early doors instead of drip fed in, and I think Palmer's more able to come in. It might mean a switch for Maeda over that other side, and I don't know which side he'll play Maeda on. I think he'll probably put Maeda on the side. I know Feyenoord have got a good winger. I wouldn't be surprised to see Maeda on the same wing as that, just to nullify that threat. So let's see.
Spot on.
And then Daniel, what do you think? Are you in agreement with that? You get any counterpoints to any of that?
Yeah, I wouldn't be too nervous if Yang was out there on the right, but I think that is your best possible lineup right now. You've got Palma, Kyogo, Maeda playing on the right, and maybe switch him, whoever we want him to harass on whatever side. And then, yes, Hatate definitely starts. O'Reilly, McGregor, Taylor, Jitters. I don't know. Maybe Scales. I could see Lagerbielke because I don't know. He seems like more of a physical presence, but there is definitely some kind of Rodgers man management thing going on. So either him or Scales, but if I was personally going to pick, I would probably pick Scales. I mean, everybody just loves to dig on him. Oh, he's got no future at the club and all that. It's like, are you watching this guy play? I don't know. And his natural left foot on that side is really an asset, man. I'd say the usual suspects. Put Palma out there. Hatate gets first start in a while, and go for it, man.
Yeah, I think Scales, the fact that he's left-footed, I think it'll definitely favour him for playing on the left side of the two centre-halves, and I do agree with you. I think it'll be Scales and Phillips that start the game, although many people seem to be of the opinion that Lagerbielke and Scales will start the game, but I don't think so. Kaiser, what's your view on that? Would you think, are you in agreement, or do you think it'll be Lagerbielke?
I like Lagerbielke, right? I think he's a good player. He's young. He's got good assets about him. But I do think with Phillips coming in, he does have European experience. He has played for Liverpool at Champions League level. He will not be overawed by the situation or by the occasion. So, as I said, him coming in for the early minutes in the game for the first half, really, I do think that was a clear indication that Brendan's looking to play him and Scales. So definitely I can see it being Phillips, Scales, AJ and Taylor in the back line. Definitely. Lagerbielke is always there. He'll be on the bench. He'll be there should anything happen. And I would have confidence to put him on. I would go straight in with him and relying on him. Okay, I wouldn't really point at him and go, I'm not confident in his ability, because I'm confident in his ability. But would I be confident in him getting overawed by the situation? Where we've seen him dawdle on the ball at Ibrox in a situation where you shouldn't really, even though we got the break of the decision there, you shouldn't really be dawdling on the ball there. You know what I mean? So that, for me, Brendan's an astute manager. He'll be looking at that and going, imagine him in Europe, imagine him in an away fixture, our first Champions League game, dawdling on the ball and being caught out by a sharper player. No, I don't think so. So I think he will go with Phillips. Even though Phillips is lacking game time and a bit of match sharpness, I can see him definitely starting off with Phillips. I can see Hatate getting a start as well. And I think Ian and Daniel both touched on it, being spot on. I see Maeda being deployed on the right-hand side, maybe nullifying their winger or their best attacking threat on that side, and Palma being handed a start. I know Yang can play on either side, but I can see Palma come on and he really looked like a player, you know what I mean? He had that, he just had that era quality about him. I'm not saying Yangnam style, you know what I mean? I'm not saying he didn't have an era quality about him, because he certainly does. But with him being younger and maybe coming on as a game changer a bit later in the game, when people get a bit tired and he can exploit his assets, I can see that really happening. And if I was a fan of Korean football or of the Korean national team, I would definitely be very excited about the fact that Yang and O are at Celtic and are building that relationship in the front line. So I hope to see more of that. I know we won't really see that too much in the Champions League, but domestically, I hope to see more of them building that relationship. And then that's only going to transcend for the Korean national team as well, who are, as Daniel says, hardworking, very physical, and excellent footballers as well. Really upgrading my opinion of, not that I had an opinion set in stone, but we all have preconceived notions of what football's like at the other side of the world. I did see when Celtic went away on the Australian tour, I was surprised at the quality of the football the Australian sides plays as well. I was like, they actually play really good football at a really high level. Obviously got a competitive league. Shows you what a competitive league does to your side when you've got every team trying and vying for a position. Unlike Scotland, where lots of teams just seem to be happy to settle for the narrative of going for a draw. A draw is the best they can have. If we were to pull off a draw tomorrow night, I would snatch it. If you were to hand me it right now and say 2 each draw, 1 each draw, I would bite the hat off you for it. You know what I mean?
I'd take the point, but I do think we're capable of going there and taking the 3 points. I think that's what Ibrox has shown us. You know, we take the point because I think like the players are learning the system. The centre of defence is just that kind of worry at the moment, and some players getting up to speed of Rodgers. But I wouldn't bet against us going there and taking the 3 points, because I think we're more than capable. And there's very few teams that have got a player the level of Kyogo. Do you know what I mean? I think, as you said a couple of episodes ago, you maybe got a 25-30 mil pound player or something there now with extending the contract, and that's the reality of it. We do have a top striker. If we can get him in the ball in the right areas, get every chance of taking 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If he arrives, you know what I mean? There was a lot of players last year, I touched on that as well, saying like Matt O'Reilly, players like that, if they arrive at this level, and I don't mean just like turn up and get on the pitch, I mean if they come of age. And you see it a lot about the squad. You look about and you go, this player's on the cusp of it. He's going to come of age at some point. When will he come of age? Now, it happened to Jota. Jota came of age with his goal away to Real Madrid, his free kick. And you seen that relief, that celebration that came from him. That, for me, that was really a coming of age moment. And it came too late for us. If Jota had arrived a bit sooner in the Champions League, then maybe we could have done a bit more. So, like Hatate, O'Reilly, Kyogo, if they arrive, if they come of age, if Kyogo breaks his duck and starts scoring at that level, then I don't think there's any stopping him. He will just see it as that's it. The paradigm's been set. There's performance at that level, and that's what needs to happen. See, if we see that, I would not put it past us, right? Getting the draw, and I would not put it past us going out there and winning 3-1, say, you know what I mean, and really having a real performance and putting on a show, turning on the style, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And everybody's talking about Feyenoord. They're just murdering everybody they're playing right now. Tell you what, boys, we got them right where we fucking want them. That's what we got. We got them overconfident and ready to. We're gonna kill Celtic. Yeah, perfect.
I think they've scored like 17 goals in that
past. Red Scotland's
yeah. I mean,
so Red Scotland's tactical prediction is fuck it, 10 men behind the ball, park the fucking bus. And he's also
it's a legitimate play style.
6-4-0 formation. So,
the Craig Levine special.
Yeah,
so there you go. So, Ian. So just quickly, Ian, what's your score prediction?
Oh, I tell you what, I'm going to go 2-1. 2-1 Celtic. No. We're going to go 2-1 Celtic. The head says like a draw. The head says we can get a draw, but the heart is saying to me, I think we can sneak it. So I'm going to go with the heart. I think there's someone in the chat. I think it's Frank saying I've been drinking something in the Welsh water. Could be. I'm always optimistic. You know, you got to believe going into nights like this. And I think if the players believe, I think let's go 2-1. 2-1 for me.
And Daniel, yourself, what's your score prediction?
I like that, but I think it'd be against Feyenoord, even with both of their main strikers injured. I think it'd be. I think it'll turn into a little bit of a track meet at certain times. I'm going to go 3-2 Celtic.
Kaiser, score.
Oh, I'm going to stand on the cliff and I'm going to piss into the hurricane, bro. Definitely, I'm going to go with 3-1 to Celtic. Like Ian's touched on, like Dan was saying, confidence there. You know what I mean? I would take a draw. I would snatch at it. I would certainly see that as a monumental result. Pete McGee tell me not to use big words. I'm scrambling his brain. I'm a cornucopia of big words, brother. Don't you worry about it.
Yeah.
I do see us right. We did learn from Ibrox. Even with a fully hostile crowd, we will have 2,000 Celtic fans there, and away attendance, away support is fantastic. They're always very vocal. If we get into the game and we silence their crowd, now we've seen the power of that. We've seen the power of that at Ibrox. We've seen what happens when the home crowd gets on the back of the squad. We've seen that guy for the stand, and he's like, "You, fuck off." Now that can definitely I don't know how you say that in Dutch. I think it's pretty much the same. You know what I mean? Fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. I think that's Dutch, basically. But definitely, if we get on the back of them and we get our tails up, we start fast, we get an early goal, definitely, I would not put it past us beating them 3-1. And at the same time, I would take a draw, I would take a 2 each or a 1 each. But I'm going to be confident. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Celtic. I'm going to go Kyogo with 2 goals and Matt O'Reilly arriving with a goal as well. There you go. There's the goal scorers and everything, boys. Get to the bookies, get a fiver on it. Tell them Kaiser sent you.
All right. Well, my prediction, I have to say, I think there's a little bit of over-optimism sweeping the place. I'm a little bit concerned that we're sort of hyping up our chances a little bit. But hey, this is a Celtic podcast. If you want realism,
man.
Swear. So I'm going to predict a 2-1 win to Celtic.
Baby.
Probably 0
And that's
degree
not
of confidence.
optimistic.
If we beat Feyenoord 2-1 in their own stadium, that will be Celtic's best result for over a decade, I would say, in any European competition. Arguably up there with beating Ajax 3-1 in the Amsterdam Arena back in 2001. So if we can get that, I'd be delighted. All right, so we'll sort of try and wind things up a little bit just now, and we'll move on to our usual social media recommendations spot. I'm just going to try and share something here that Ian sent through. Let me see if you can see that. Can you see that, guys?
Yeah.
So let me try and play this and see if it works.
I think you've got the volume turned off. Got to hit the little speaker down at the bottom.
Just put the video on full screen and turn it up a bit, Stephen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the volume. I think the audio is disabled.
Okay, so do you want to, I don't know if you could hear that or not. Do you want to just talk us through that, Ian?
No.
All right.
You want to put it back on, Stephen?
yeah. Try it again, man. Gotta hit the little speaker at the bottom, man.
I'll share the screen.
Just scroll down, mate. Put it on full screen and turn the volume up. If you scroll down, you'll see it on the actual video. Right. There you go. See the wee volume. Boom, full screen. Sexy. There's some nice joggies. The volume is there. Yeah. Turn it all the way up. That's
all the way up. Get it to 11.
Oh, it's not coming through.
Yeah, the volume's just not coming through. Is that Liam Scales?
No, I think maybe we can post a link to it or something. But it's a tune for a bada, which the timing isn't the best, but it's a really, really catchy tune. And I've learned a lot today about. Is it Peggy Gou? Is that his name, Dano? Is it Peggy Gou?
Peggy Gou. Yeah, I don't know why she spells it OU, but yeah, just
Peggy
Gou it. Peggy Gou.
Can I just point out with the guys that were on the bus? I've had a good authority. They were enjoying a 9-course meal with the refreshments, just in case there's anyone from Police Scotland watching the stream. But yeah, there's Peggy. Massive Tim.
I was today years old when I realised who Peggy Gou was. So here's Peggy Gou for anybody who, like me, didn't know who she was until about 2 hours ago. So apparently Peggy is a South Korean DJ and a very successful one at that. So fortunately for the Celtic world, we have a South Korean on the show. And not only that, one of the top radio DJs in South Korea. So Dano, tell us everything there is to know about Peggy Gou.
Well, as far as what they were singing on that bus, that's a song that she put out this year. And it's, as usual, I don't know what it is with her. Part of it is definitely the looks. I mean, she is a fox, but she's also a really interesting person. She actually grew up in Europe. She's been based in Germany, I think, for a while now. Went to university in England and in Germany. 2018, she put out this song called Ikehane, which means it makes you forget. And and she was signed to Ninja Tune, which are based in Vienna, I think. And it just went completely viral. And it was kind of like Gangnam Style. It was like everybody's suddenly trying to sing a Korean song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was kind of like Gangnam Style light a few years later. But this song has similarly gone like viral pop sensation. It goes like na na na. And yeah, she's just a superstar DJ. She's probably one of the most popular DJs out there right now. But yeah, grew up in Korea, Celtic fan. And yeah, she's just touring constantly, playing the biggest possible shows you can play as a DJ. Full stadiums in Brazil, anywhere you go, anywhere you can go. It's unbelievable.
If the score predictions weren't enough to give you a semi, Peggy Goo was there. All the guys out there trying to have their breakfast this morning just dropped the spout. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. Beautiful. It's crazy because 5 years ago she was kind of known. But she put out that tune. It makes you forget. And people, especially in Europe, went ballistic. And it's kind of weird. If you're not in K-pop here, it's like you have to break through somewhere else. So like all the indie artists and stuff are trying to break through in the US or in Europe. And a lot of the dance music heads are trying to break through in Europe. And then they come back to Korea and they're popular. They have a profile. And then you see like Peggy Goo doing ads for LG and Samsung and stuff. It's crazy, man. But yeah, just 5 years ago, she didn't really have a profile at all. And she put up that picture of herself in the Celtic jersey after playing a gig there. She was starting to get known because she had put out that song, but now she's just massive, unbelievable.
I get that, Daniel, with Squid Games being on Netflix and a large explosion of that Korean culture. And then I also watched another show that was about it was like an endurance show, and they had sculptures of their people's bodies, and it's like the ultimate physique.
100 to 1 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I watched that as well. I thought that was excellent as well. Really exposing to Korean culture. And beforehand, I think my exposure to Korean culture was going on YouTube and watching some food videos. You know what I mean? With the street vendors and street food. And then I think to myself, how much of a culture shock is that for players like Yang and Kwon coming to Scotland when you've not got nothing like that? You know what I mean? You've got a doner kebab and a black pudding supper. You know what I mean?
You know, to be honest, I think Koreans go to like Western countries and it's like, man, white people are lazy as fuck, bro. Like, what is going on here, man? Because it is nonstop here, man. Like I said, I don't care if you're a cab driver or whoever. It is just go time all the time.
This is what it looks like at the pinnacle.
I'd love to see one of those Celtic shots of like Yang like trying like a scorching hot donut from the bars or something. This is authentic street food and just filming the action.
I do think that Koreans would like haggis. I kind of wonder about that. I think if you had Yang and Kwon and O go out to like a haggis restaurant and try it, they probably would like it, man. I mean,
the only haggis I eat is deep fried haggis for the chip shop, bro. I would not eat the original. I look at that and I'm like, that's to be played football with. That's not for the eating. You know what I mean? And then you inflate that and kick it out of the park.
For those of us who don't live in Scotland anymore, you're making us all starving. We talk of black pudding suppers and haggis suppers and all the rest.
No, I'm talking about food because I'm starving too, man. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You forget it's different time zones for everyone in it all over the world. I'm just here. I'm thinking about lunch now. I'm like, I got a black pudding supper for lunch.
Yeah,
you know I mean?
All right. So just before we go, I'll share my social media recommendation. And this is him. This isn't a footballer. This is a guy that plays for the Portuguese rugby team with the current Rugby World Cup on at the moment, and his name is Mike Tadger. Probably only works if you're from Glasgow or the west of Scotland. Dano, I don't know if you get that one, but
no.
Guys, I've got to explain to Dano what a Tadger is.
A Tadger's another word. Term, yeah. A Tadger's another word for your willy. You get me, Dano? So in Scotland, like, shows your Tadger, and then all these fellow teammates need to message back and be like, I'm just over here playing with my Tadger. I'm on a team with Tadger. Brilliant. Comic gold in Scotland. The rest of the world wasted upon. You know what I mean?
You'll see that photo a lot in the replies of some stuff. Like if someone's making an arse out themselves, it'll be just Tadger posted.
And you see how proud he looks. He has a rep there, isn't he? He's like, look at me, big Tadger. Brilliant. Love it.
I did learn a little bit of Scottish slang. Scocious, I think is how you pronounce it. Just
Stocious.
Yeah, I gotta have the word in front of me. I literally just learned it probably 2 weeks ago. And obviously I didn't learn it because I'm fucking it up anyways.
Very drunk.
Yeah.
Job. That's another favourite word.
Yeah. Stocious.
So Tadger is also used as a general derogatory term. Like you might say something like, "See that Michael Beale? He's a pure Tadger."
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
If you were feeling kind.
If you were trying to be nice, you're in polite company.
Yeah. You could drop that on the radio show, Dano, I'm sure. Here's one going out to all you Tadgers out there.
Yeah. Nobody would know a thing, man. Nobody would. They'd be like, Tadger, what is that? Look it up.
All right, so I'm going to have to bring the hilarity to an end. We're over the hour. So thanks, Ian. Thanks, Dano. And thanks, Kaiser. And thanks to all those listening and commenting.
Yeah.
We're back on a live show on Thursday evening, and we'll be back here next Monday. Thursday, we'll pick the bones out the Feyenoord game. And next Monday, we'll be looking at the game on next Saturday, which is Livingston away. So thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of your week, guys.
Yeah, hail legends, stay blessed. Let's get this.